Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you find yourself. Welcome to another episode of Demystify Tech with yours truly, Samuel Adrani, right here. So we do this every Friday, trying to demystify technology for you across board. Today's episode, we're continuing from where we left off last week. We saw our introduction to cloud services with specifics to Microsoft Azure. Today, we're going to take one of the services on Microsoft Azure, which is App Services. We're going to talk about App Services, deploy some very basic Node application, and we see all the, parts of App Services. Well, if this sounds like something of interest to you, stick and stay with us. We'll be right back. Awesome, we're back. I'm yours truly, Samuel Adrani. You might be wondering, why do I have this happening? Well, it's just to tell you of something interesting that's happening tomorrow. If I could go to that screen for you to see, yes, tomorrow, the 16th of December 2023, the Accra .NET and Azure user group, one of the groups that I co-organize with myself, Franco Doom, and all the interesting folks out there. We are hosting the .NET Conf 2023 Accra version. .NET Conf happened 14th of November last month. Exciting news about everything .NET 8, C# 12, all the cool stuff, Aspire, all the awesome stuff, awesome speakers, awesome sessions. We are privileged to have this happening live tomorrow at the Ghana India Kofi Annan ICT Center of Excellence. Tomorrow from 10 a.m. all the way to about 3-4 p.m. we will be hosting the likes of Scott Hanselman, Mariana Gaga, Franco Odum will be there, myself will be there, Tag will be there, David. We're going to talk about everything that happened in .NET Conf, and really interesting hands-on sessions. We'll talk about a lot of staff panel discussions, workshops. If this sounds like something that is of interest to you, please make sure that you join us tomorrow 10 a.m. at the Kofi Annan ICT Center of Excellence. I keep getting the question. Someone asked me this afternoon, are you kidding me? Is Scott Hanselman coming? I'm like, well, you need to show up there to find out for yourself. So I'm expecting to see all of you tomorrow there 10 a.m. Kofi Annan ICT Center of Excellence. And I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors for making this happening, Microsoft, the .NET Foundation, API. Well, thank you so much for helping us to do this. Accede, people from Afrologic Solution, Propel, we thank you. And last minute, I want to say a big shout out to Casapreco for giving us some, water for the day. So if this sounds like something of interest to you, please, you can scan the QR code, join us tomorrow for an awesome event. So with that out of the way, I mentioned today we'll be talking about app services. Last week, I'm gonna put it somewhere here, right? So if you join the screen, if you're joining the stream, thank you very much for joining. Let me know where you're joining from and just send me a hi. Now, for the last couple of streams, people were complaining there was some moments of silence in the stream, and then they couldn't hear anything. So after trying to debug it, I figured it out. There was an issue with one of the VST plugins I was using, which instead of using the free version, I opted for a trial version. And what happened was that with the trial version, it had expired, and because it had expired, there were moments it introduced silence in my audio. So hopefully today my audio would be interesting, will be clean, will be good. So if you're joining me today, just let me know how the audio is going. And also, sorry, I didn't put out how do you call it, the flyer a bit earlier. I was just also in preparation of tomorrow's event, just been trying to run around, so forgive me for that. I'll make sure that subsequently we get all the flyers coming in. If you're joining me, whether from Facebook, from YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're joining me, you know what, just say hi, just say hi to me, and then I would, pretty much respond to that. So let's get into it today. What are we talking about? Yeah, like I was saying, so we looked at App Service. We looked at the overview of Microsoft Azure last week. So today we're going to narrow down and go to look at Microsoft Azure App Services. What App Services allow us, to do. So last week I took you through the overview of Azure. And then today we're going to be focusing on App Service. So if you have any specific questions on the App Service, please feel free to ask me. So before we do that, we're just going to quickly run through, just talking about what the App Service is, what it allows you to do, and then, we will take it from there. So let's go to our desk. And if you join us, thank you for joining us. Today, we're talking about app services for the Microsoft Azure Cloud. We'll be looking at everything the app service can do, and then we'll be doing some hands-on session demo on deploying a basic node application to app service. So app service, like I mentioned, is part of Microsoft Azure Services, Cloud Services. It allows you to pretty much deploy your web application or mobile application or even bot or any application you want to deploy into the cloud, specifically if you want to do that on Azure. It allows you to deploy that in its ecosystem. It also allows you to, literally scale up. That's a good thing about it. We talked about all the cloud infrastructure. So app service falls within platform as a service. We talked about the various service levels or service deployment in Azure when we started in last week's episode. So if you missed it, I'll probably put it somewhere up there for you to see. So app service allows you to deploy your applications, be it web apps, web APIs, worker processes, background processes. You can deploy them using app services. So whether it is .NET, it's .NET Core, it is Node.js, Java, Python, PHP, you name it. Whether you want to run it on a Windows instance, on a Linux instance, we'll be able to do that. And today's session we'll be taking a look at deploying a very basic Node.js application in App Service. Now, what are some of the things we need to take a look at when it comes to app services? So first of all, it's fully managed service, which is built-in infrastructure. So like I mentioned the last time that it falls under the platform as a service option. Let's do this. Let me be more creative with this. So as you can see, the first side, it's fully managed, right? It's a fully managed service with built-in infrastructure, maintenance, security, patching, and scaling. What that means is you don't necessarily need to worry about, scaling up. Scale it down. You don't have to worry about patching it, security, and all that. You just need to, especially in the areas of scaling, all you need to do is to provide the rules for scaling. Whether if it is a CPU hitting a certain a number, or if the number of requests coming in hits a certain number, you want to scale up. You just have to define that. The other part of it is, or the second part of it, it is here, as you can see, built-in continuous integration and continuous delivery, CI/CD, zero downtime deployment. So what this does is it allows you to natively connect your CI/CD pipelines, whether you're using Azure DevOps, you're using GitHub Actions, Travis, you think about it. It allows you to continuously build, develop, and deploy applications straight into app services without any downtime. There's also the concept of what we call deployment slots, right? Which you can also use. So what other things are we also looking at? Let me bring this here so that we can talk about them pretty easy and quick, because today I want to get us, yes, let's do that. So we'll do this one. There we go. And then probably use glue. There we go. All right. So the other two things, support for virtual networks and ability to run in an isolated, dedicated app service environment. We'll talk about app service environment as well. So it allows you to set up in your own virtual network. If you have to deploy, the application in the instance where there is a requirement for you to make sure it's in its own isolated environment. You can do that as well. It also has a rigorous security and compliance standard. Like I mentioned the last time, I said Azure is, has a lot of certificate and compliance. So you can rest assured that provided you're using the best practices, you can deploy to Azure without having to stress about anything. So whilst we are still on the App Service Deployment Center, which we're going to see, I'm going to take you to the portal once we just acclimatize ourselves or just get ourselves acquainted with this. So it allows you obviously to, like I mentioned, quickly build your applications, API, whatever that is. You can build and deploy them using continuous integration. You can run Kubernetes. You can, pretty much do all that. Now here, this is a very basic example of a system that has been deployed on App Service. As you can see, there is an App Service plan, which is the underlying infrastructure you choose to deploy your app service, and then your web apps are the individual applications you store in it. I would explain that in a bit. So it's used by a lot of people. So whether it is an API backend for mobile application or for your pretty much any system at all, you can leverage that. Now, one thing people don't know, and most times, and this is what I'm trying to highlight. This is what I'm trying to to showcase. Maybe it's not emphasized that much, right? I made mention the other time that, look, you can start using Azure for free. You can get a $200 credit to use Azure for free, either, and then this is how it happens. It's either after the $200, is used, or, or 1 month or 30 days happens, whichever comes first. However, even after the $200 is used, there are over 55 plus services you can use for free in Azure. I'm trying to demystify the fact that people think when you hear Azure Cloud, it is only, Microsoft is only for enterprises. So I'm a startup, I can't use Azure, license. No, completely fallacy. And I'm also going to share with you some time to back something called the Microsoft for Startup Hubs, which is a place for people who want to start their businesses or just start to, building a small idea or concept. You get free Azure credits. You get about $5,000 Azure credit to use for a space of 12 months to prototype, to use, to build systems, and you even have access to an expert pool like MVPs and other Microsoft engineers to help you in your development. Now, like I'm saying, if your credit expires and you're ready to go into business, you can literally convert your free account to a pay-as-you-go, which is you only paid for what you use, right? Then even after that, you can still go ahead and use the free service tier month on month, every month. So far as you're not exceeding that free tier, you can use Azure for free, perpetually. If you don't do anything illegal in there, you can easily do that. Now, as you can see, trusted by the NBA, Fujitsu, Atlantico, Heineken. You think about it. And I think the last time I made mention that if you didn't know, the very last FIFA World Cup, most of the infrastructure for that whole World Cup was deployed and built on the Microsoft Azure cloud. So Azure is very robust. It's very, very comparable to all the other stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you to the portal. We created a portal last week, and we actually deployed a Azure function in it. And if you're joining us, welcome. This is Demystify Tech with Sam. I try to do this every Friday to help us demystify stuff about technology. Today in specific, we're continuing from our introduction to cloud computing with specifics to Microsoft Azure. If you have any questions, specific to Azure or cloud computing, you can drop it in the chat, and I'll try as much as possible to answer that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do something really quickly. We're going to deploy Node.js app in Azure. Very simple. We're going to go ahead and create a very simple Node application. There is actually a free one already there. We can decide to do let's deploy on. We're going to deploy on Linux, and I'll show you how to do all that in today's episode. So let's get into setting it up. So we're going to go to the portal, which is here. So let's go ahead, portal.azure.com. No, let's stop this. Yep, there you go. And you feel free to ask any questions if you have them. I think I'll use this Outlook. This is what we have. We have the Yep, there we go. Send notification. Let's do our multi-factor authentication right here on the phone and approve that. There we go. We're not staying. Welcome. If you're joining us, it'll be cool to know where you're joining us from. So you can probably say, hey, my name is Samuel. I'm joining from Accra on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. It would really be exciting to know. And if you have any questions specifically to it, I would really be grateful to answer that. So from last week, we created our resource group, which we said that a resource group is basically like a logical container where we group stuff, right? So we're going to go ahead and put it in the Demystify Tech resource group, open it up. And today, we'll be doing app service. So app service, how do we deploy? Now, you notice that there is some app service plan already, which was done here. That was because, if you remember, I mentioned when we created the function that functions are deployed, you know, on the covers of some infrastructure, right? So that's what you saw. But today we're going to go through it quite differently. Now, so App Service is part of Microsoft Compute Cloud Services. So when we talk about compute is basically the hardware or the infrastructure beneath your apps or applications in the cloud. So App Service is one, like I said, you can deploy your applications, your APIs, your mobile applications, your bots, your agent, your co-pilot. It's just a place to deploy it. Versus infrastructure as a service where you have to provision a physical server. App Service, like I mentioned, devoid of all that. So let's go ahead in this and create. So you click on the create at the top. Now, all I'm doing, you can also do with the Azure CLI or the Azure Developer CLI, right? But we're going to use the portal to do that. So in here, on the left side, I can go ahead on the left side and look for compute, right? We can look for compute right here. And then if you look closely, you can see that there are over, 3,513 compute options here for you to choose in Azure, right? A lot of them. However, if you know what you want, let's click it just for the sake of curiosity. If you click it, you see all the compute, right? Like I said, which app service is part. So from Ubuntu, all these things are compute. Some of them are VM, some of them are services. But what we are focusing on today's episode is app service. So I select app service, and then we have the option. So all these things are an app service. So there's an app service plan, app service environment v3. Now, so you can see there's even WordPress on app service. Yes. Some people, in the beginning felt Azure is just Microsoft product, .NET, C#. No. As you can see, you can deploy WordPress, you can deploy PHP, you can deploy your Laravel, your Spring applications, Java, Python. You can deploy everything, all right? And if you are in the areas of all the single page applications, you can deploy them using static web apps. And even if you want to do containers, right, you can also do container apps or web app for containers. So like I said, there's a lot, and hopefully in one of the series, I'll talk about containerizing, Dockerization up your application, Dockerizing it and putting it in app service. I'll show you how to do that. But for today, we are focusing on web app, which is the app service, right? So here, one thing about Azure Cloud is that when you can like something, and then it will be added to your frequent or favorite list, so you don't have to worry about yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and create now. So like I was explaining, app service is the app itself, but app service sits on top of what we call app service plan. Now, the app service plan is your underlying infrastructure. And when I say the underlying infrastructure, your app service plan is what's going to determine your app service, your service memory, your server storage, your server CPU. The specifications of your server is what the app service plan does. So before you can deploy an app service, you need to create an app service plan, and then your app service sits on top of it. Now, Microsoft has made it very easy that you don't necessarily need to go through that steps in the order. What you can do is that, hey, Manuel, okay, welcome. Hello, all from Senegal. Thank you. All the way from Senegal. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome. I appreciate it. I hope you're finding meaning to what we're doing. Please feel free to, dropping any question you have specifically about App Service. You're doing something, you need some assistance, just feel free and share with us. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love. So Azure makes it very easy so that you don't necessarily have to create the app service plan before the app service. They've made it easy in such a way that in the process of creating the web app, you create the app service plan. So that's what I'm going to take you through the process. So here we're going to create a web app. So we go ahead, and so there are some information you can see here, the plans, the user information, the rating reviews. You can look at all that. But now let's go ahead and click on the create. So this will take us to a new screen, or a blade as we call it, and then you're going to see all the options. I made mention that to use Azure you need some form of a subscription. I'm fortunate to have a few subscriptions because I'm a Microsoft MVP. I have a few MVP subscriptions. So I was talking to you that there's Microsoft Startup Hub sponsorship, which I get for free. I'll share that today. So if you have a business idea, you're worried, how can I need to deploy it in the cloud? Microsoft has a service that allows. I think I should bring, I think Jafflet. Jafflet is for startups. I'll one day bring Jafflet on the show to come and explain what Microsoft or Startup Hub is and what SMEs and small startups like you can use it. So I'm going to go and use my Visual Studio Enterprise. And the resource group, we've already selected Demystify Tech, which is our logical grouping for our apps. And then how do we want to call it? So let's do this. Let's call this our application. Now, well, we'll go through it. We'll call this our number. We'll call it numbers API. Let's see. Now it has to be unique across because you can't have that. So it says it's not available. So let's call it Demystify. Demystify numbers. Yay. So yeah. So this app is going to be called demystifynumbers.azurewebsite.net. And here, one thing you can see is that so I can decide how I am intending to publish it. Okay, now this is code, which means that I'm actually deploying the raw code into this app for it to deploy. Or I could be going with what they call Docker, and I think I mentioned that. So which means that, oh, I have my application Dockerized. It's in a Docker container and I want to deploy it. App Service supports that. And then if I am saying that, okay, no, I am just doing a static web app, like, with Vite, Next, one of these SPAs, static static page. I can, single page applications, I can host them as a static web page. So App Service or Azure allows you to do that. Now, because what we intend to do, we are going to do something alongside deploying a node application. We are going to tell it that, hey, it is code. And then also we need to select the runtime. We need to select the runtime as well. So the runtime is telling us what technologies are you using, right? So if I drop down the runtime, you can see this. Let's go here. You can see there's a lot of it, right? So from .NET to Java to there's Node. You see all the runtime. In our case, we're going to be using Node. So as you can see, there's PHP, there's Python. So today we're going to use Node. I'll leave it to Node 18, which is a long-term support. I can change it to anything. Then the other thing here is to determine which operating system, all right, I want to use. I want to deploy this Node application on a Linux box in Azure App Services. So I'm going to choose Linux. And I talked about the region. Now, the region, based on where you are deploying your application, you need to choose a region that is closest to you to reduce the latency. But you need to do this with having at the back of your mind that if the application you are developing requires some sovereignty and doesn't allow you to deploy the data in another region, then you have to figure it out. But in this case, we'll stick to East US. And I think the last time I showed you Azure Speed Test, which is a tool I use to determine the latency. Ideally, from where I am, France Central seems to be the place with the smallest latency amongst all the other places. Another thing you should also understand is that every region has different pricing tier. So you could pick an app service in East US, which is probably $10 a month, and then you move it to France and might be 15 or less, right? Calculations, right? So just have that at the back of your mind. So with that said, now comes the pricing plan right here. This section is what we're talking about in terms of the underlying infrastructure that is going to host your application. So the pricing plan will tell you, okay, so I'm using a Linux box. Now, what's the price? What's the app service plan I want to use? So I need to create a new app service plan and then tell it, this is the plan I want, which involves the memory and all that. So let's go ahead and create a new one. So you can easily create on, click on here. Just click on the create new one. It most times, how do you call it? It will suggest some of it for you here to say, oh, I want to call it, but if you don't want it, all you need to do is say, hey, I want to create a new one. So we'll click on a new one and then we'll call this, let's call it the lab app service, right? We don't need to put service in, so I'll just call it let's say Demystify. Yeah, we can call it Demystify Demo App Service Plan. There's nothing wrong with it so far it's available. So we do that, and then we go ahead and now explore. So you see that when I hit the drop down here, what Microsoft does for you here is you can see that here you have a free tier, which is estimated to be $0 a month, an estimate, right? And this gives you 60 CPU minutes a day. And then you can have the basic, which is estimated about $12.41 a day, a month. This gives you 100 ACUs, memory of 1.7 gig, and virtual CPUs 1. There is a premium V3, P1 V3, which is about $82.49, is an estimate a month, and gives you about 8 gigs of memory and then 2 virtual CPUs. All right, so you see all these, and so this is what you're saying. So what I'm saying is that, hey, I'm creating a new app service plan, which is the underlying infrastructure to host this app, and I want it to have these specifications. All right, now if you feel this is not, you can click on explore the plan, and the blade will open up to give you all the app service plans, right? And here, depending on the application you are building, you can choose. So you can see here whether it's virtual CPU or actual CPUs, the memory, the remote storage, the scaling instance, the number of scale instances you can have depending on what you choose for. And then you can see the service level agreement, which is what Microsoft is guaranteeing you, saying that, oh, I can guarantee that I will keep the server up for 99.95 of the time. And then you can see the cost, the estimated hour cost, and then monthly cost. So if you look closely here, right, pretty much if you want to use it for dev and test, these are the popular options. There's one for dev and test, which is the free. There's a basic one here, and then you have the production, which is the premium ones. You can see those go a bit in there. Now every plan you pick has got the things you can access and things you can access. For instance, if you're using the free tier, I think you can do custom domains. If you want to, so right now, if you create this app service, it's going to be something at azurewebsites.net. But if you want it to be your own custom thing, let's say you bought a domain and you want to use it, you can't use it that way because of free tier. So I think for now, I will stick to so this is giving us premium V3. And this is going to give us about 8 gigs and 2 virtual CPUs, right? So if you look at it, that says about $82. I mean, don't worry, I'll delete this once we are done. So I'm picking this so we can see all the options we have. So I'll leave it to this way. Then the other part which is below here is the redundancy. Let's get this right. Yep, there you go. So this is the redundancy. All right. So what is a zone redundancy? Like I mentioned, Azure is deployed. Azure is the infrastructure behind Azure is spread across different, regions. Now, and these regions have different zones. So you can decide to say you want redundancy, where if your app service, probably has an issue or goes down, another one will be spun up to keep it, keep it running. So if you enable it, it says that you need to have the minimum app service plan instance count to be 3, which means that if you enable redundancy, which means you're going to get 3, right? 3 instances of your app running all the time. Whatever the case is, there will be 3 instances running to serve. If you disable it, it means that the minimum will be just 1. There will just be 1 app service instance running for you all the time. We'll disable it for now. Then we'll click on next. Now, if that's the cool thing about this, if your app, the app that we're trying to deploy, leverages a database, we can say, hey, I want to create a database. Check this, and then it would give us the option to create a database. So if I check this, you see, it's asking me what's the database engine, what's the database name. So I can provision this if I want, but today we're not adding any database, so we're just going to leave this, and then we'll go to deployment. So this is where you tell it that, hey, you know what? I have my application in GitHub, and I want to do continuous deployment, which means that if I run the code, make a change and push, I want the pipeline to bundle everything, do whatever it has to do, and deploy it into Azure for me, right? I'll show you how to do that in another episode, but today we're just going to see how to create a simple app service plan and deploy in it for the sake of time. So here you realize that I have already connected my GitHub account, but there would have been a button here to click on it. So we'll leave this as disabled for now. Then we go to the networking section. Now, this is very important, right? If the application you are building, you don't want people from outside or public access to it, this is where you turn it off. You set it off. All right. If you wanted to have public traffic, which is a website that will be used by external people from all over, right? You can add that, hey, hello from Nigeria, Panchak. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming in. Drop your questions and share your thoughts. And then, hey, let's make this interesting. I hope the sound is okay. I hope it's not gone off since. So we will keep it to allow for external access. And then next, monitoring. Now, one of the cool things is once you deploy your application, now that's the thing, whether you are deploying it in the cloud, you are deploying it on-prem, you need a way to constantly monitor your applications to make sure that everything is okay. Microsoft provides Application Insight, which allows you to orchestrate your application, and it reads things like request, response, errors, response time. It pretty much logs all these things so that at the end of the day, you can go, if there's an issue, you can go and look and find out where the issue is coming from. For the purpose of today's session, you will not enable it, but it's as simple as yes, and then it will ask you to create a new one. You can either give it you can either keep the default name, or you can create a new one if you wanted to, and this will give you insight into the number of calls. Or maybe let's just do add, and then let's call it for the sake of the demo, nothing really changed, so let's just call it Demystify Insights, and always keep it you're always going to keep it in the same region as your application for latency issues. So we do that, and then we go to next, which is tags. I think I mentioned the last time. So tags are a way for you to pretty much organize your resources. Some people use it to organize it for billing. Some people use it to organize for infrastructure. So we'll not give it anything here. So we go to review, and here Azure will go through its things, review and make sure that everything is okay. And if everything is okay, you shouldn't see any red bar at the top, and then we can go ahead and say create. So whilst this is going on, what's going to happen is you can see from the top right that it says it is deploying. So behind the scenes, it's created a bicep file that has all these things that it uses to deploy. So if you can decide to do infrastructure as code, you will be able to, easily deploy this. So at this point, whilst we are waiting for our resource to be deployed, we mentioned that today we'll be deploying a very basic Node application, right? We'll deploy a Node application and put it there. So like I mentioned, you can either do it in Visual Studio Code, you can deploy it with the command line interface, you can deploy it in the Azure portal. Like I said, I always like to start very simple, understand it, and you can break it down. So if you like, we can go through the process of using our own application, or we can go ahead and use the process of how do you call it, of using the examples provided. I think we can go ahead and use the examples provided, right, so that we can actually have some. So I'm going to move this out of here. So they are literally using how do we call it? They're literally using FTP to push it, but we're going to make it very simple. So let's see if it's deployed. So it says our deployment is complete. Let's go to the resource right here, and then as you can see, so this is done. And if you look up here, you get to have some basic information about it. So this is the resource group, the status, the region, the subscription, and I can see, so this here is the URL that has been created for this app. So if I navigate to this app, I should see it running. The app service plan is using the OS, we've not configured health check. So health check is a way to set up your app service so that Azure will from time to time be calling this endpoint to check to see if your app is running. There's a neat feature so that people can tell if your app goes down or not. Then here below it, we have all this extra information available to us from properties, which is telling us the name of the web app, it's a code, this is the node version, the current domain, the hosting type, the network, all that information. And then if you go to monitoring here as well, you can see some glimpse of monitoring, which is 500 errors, the data that have come in, data that has gone out, request, response time. So, and then you can also implement Azure Monitor, which is another tool to monitor. Then logs. You can go to view log stream. So here, if you do any consoles in your application, you can see them show here. And then capabilities. So capabilities are pretty much extra things or add-ons or plugins you can add to your application. As you can see, we've only configured App Insight. We can configure things like deployment center, deployment slot. So deployment center is continuous integration, continuous delivery. If we set that up, this would be enabled. Deployment slot. Let's see if I can talk about deployment slot. So deployment slot is a way for app service to create multiple instances of application, but allow you to switch between them if there's a change. Let's see if there's time, I'll show how to do that. Then there is a custom domain. Sorry, let's go here to overview. Then there is a custom domain. So I mentioned that if you have how do you call it? Let me bring this up here. Yeah, here. So custom domains here, if you have, now we are calling it demystify numbers.azurewebsite.net. If you want to call it mynumbers.io or mynumbers.whatever, you can go and purchase that domain either outside or here within Azure itself, and then you can use it. You can use it to I think let's see, the thing is I can purchase that domain and keep it here, right? And then we can use it subsequently for all our demos. So I can probably call it Demystify Tech demos.net or Demystify Tech.demo. I don't know, depending on what Azure will give us. Maybe if there's time, maybe let's do that rather, so that we can keep that going. And then certificates, if you want to do SSL, you want to buy a different SSL. By default, these domains are secured, but if you want to do custom domains, it is good to have your own SSL to do that, because Azure gives you some SSL by default. Then authentication and front door for kind of like DNS and security all in one. All right. Now, so let's see something. If I copy this, and then we come and paste the URL here, as you can see, it will tell us that your app is running and waiting for your content. So this is the first sign that we did everything okay, and it's telling us that, hey, this is actually Node built in Node.js. So right now, our app is running, right? The app service is running, waiting to deploy or to receive the things we want to put in it. So I'm looking at how we have nine. Some days are 10 minutes. Okay, I think we can do this. We can do this really quick. So what we want to do now is to go ahead and deploy this example. All right, very, very simple example. Now, the different ways you can do the deployment. The code doesn't really matter. Whether you want to do it in let's say in Visual Studio Code, you want to do the portal. The code doesn't really matter, right? So we're going to do it very, very simple. So here we have a very simple app, right? Just a very, very simple app, which is it's an Express app called the generator view EJS, and they just need something very basic, right? Welcome to Express. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll try that. And then once we've created that, we'll just deploy it using the various means to deploy it. So let me move this here and then bring my terminal here. It's coding time. And this is the time, if you have any questions, you can reach out and say, hey, Sam, I have a question, so I'll try to answer it. So don't be scared. Let's do this. CD dev. I'm trying to figure out, I think we have a folder here. Yeah, we have a folder called Demystify Tech. Let's go to Demystify Tech. Yeah, don't worry, I'm just trying to find a place. So we have here, we have a service called Cognitive Service. So mkdir. I'm going to create a new one. All right. Let's call this mkdir. Let's say App Service. Right. So App Service demo, and then so we are an apps. Yeah. tr cd app. Oh, I spelled the service wrong. You know, right? You know what? Let me do this right here. Let's go ahead and let's change this. Yeah, at this point, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so let's go. This is Demystify Tech. Let's rename this. Okay, so let's try this again. There we go. So we have a folder, which is a blank folder. There's nothing in the folder, pretty much blank. So I'm going to copy. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to clone, right? I'm going to clone. Actually, why would we want to why would we want to clone it, right? Let's build something using AI, right? Let's do something with AI and Copilot. So I'm going to do let me see, NVM. So NVM list. So I'm currently using 18.17. You know what? I'll say use 18.18.0. So now, I should do this NVM use. Sorry about that. So all I'm doing is I'm using a node version manager that allows me to select different node version types to use. So now if I do NVM list again, I see that I'm using version 18. And that's what I selected in Azure when we're setting up. So that's good. All I want to do now, I mean, we can decide to do a basic one which just shows, hey, Express, right? So let's do the web one. Let's do the web one here. So I'm going to copy this code and use npx express generator, and this one I won't call it my, we'll just go ahead and that's just to show you that we can deploy both APIs and backends and stuff like that. So today we're creating for today's session. I'll just create a very basic just a basic node front end, right? When we're done, I can decide to change it and deploy something else. So I'll call this demystify. Actually, let's call this app. Let's call this web app, right? So we do this. So what's doing is we're using the express generator to create a node app application, which is going to be called web app, and then try it, very simple. And then once we have this, it says okay to proceed. Yes, go ahead. So this is going to go there, do all these things, create. So this is created web app public JavaScript. It's created all this, cool stuff for you. So we can change. It's telling us to change the directory, npm install, and then set debug, blah, 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 and run, right? So you can do this. So I can say, and now I have web app. So I can say, the reason I did web app was I'm going to create another one called API. So I can say cd web app, which is we're changing directly to the web app. And then I can do npm install because you have a node, you have a package manager in there. So we need to install all the packages we're using. So pretty much, there we go. We've run it. And now it says, oh, this is a vulnerability. Don't worry. So we can run npm audit. And that should check that, blah, 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 and says, okay, hey, I'm addressing all these issues. That is fine. And then now we can go ahead and run our application. Uh-oh. Let's go ahead and run this. Don't worry. So we'll just go ahead npm start. And this within the same folder is going to start running the app. Yes, allow the Node.js JavaScript runtime. And this, I'm looking for that. So this is going to spin up in a browser. So let me bring this here. Let me do localhost 3000. There we go. Yep. So as you can see, we have a node application deployed at localhost 3000, which is just welcome to Express, right? If you want to see this, I'll just stop this for now. And then let's open this in Visual Studio Code, right? And then we can look at the code that is generated. Now, so there we go. Close this. So as you can see, it's generated a bin folder that has the www that has a node modules, which is your public. So this is a node front end. This is not a node backend, right? This is a node front end. You have your routes, which is, so this is like a very, just a very setup, basic node application. All right. So let's go ahead. I already have application inside. All these things have been activated. I don't need this. So yeah, this is cool, basic, right? We're running this locally. Now it is time to deploy this thing to Azure. All right. And like I said, there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can deploy this in different ways. You can either zip it up and FTP it into Azure, or you can actually do this directly from, how do you call it? You can do it directly from Visual Studio Code itself, right? After you have deployed the whole thing, you can do it. And I want to go with Visual Studio Code this way, since we did that last week as well. So we've already created the app service, which is running in the cloud. And then remember, we go here and let's look for Azure. There you go. And if you remember, we already logged in into Azure, right? So, and this, I'm just going to leave it I'm just going to leave it in. I'm going to leave a lot of the default. Oh, it says you're not signed in. I'm signed in. Okay, don't worry. Come on. I am signing. There you go. We're not using automation. We're not using cache. We're not using API management. We're not using data mapper. So there you go. So you can see that for on the left side here, for the subscriptions, it was an enterprise subscription. Let's open this up. So this is going to load. It's going to load up and show. Yeah, there you go. So you realize that we have an app service. Let me open the app service here. So as you can see on the left side here, we have our app service. So it is showing in Visual Studio Code. There is that integration that makes it a lot easier, right? So with this done, right, I'm going to go ahead into the application, and we can close this. It doesn't really matter. So I can do this. And deploy to web app, right? That's as interesting or as easy as, you know, what Azure makes it. So I just right click, usually right click on the project, right? I can right click on the project. Let's go ahead here. Let's do this. I can deploy to web app. And this is going to spin up and look at all the changes I have. So I'm using the Visual Studio Enterprise. And it's going to go and say here, Demystify numbers. That is a web app I have created. Would you like to update your workspace community to build commands on target server? This should improve deployment. Yeah, well, let's do it. Yep, let's deploy. So always deploy the workspace. The workspace, blah, 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 deploying. So it's deploying. We're just waiting for it to deploy. Pam. So there we go. We're deploying to the workspace. We're just waiting for it to deploy. What's it? Let's look at the output. It says what? Offset to central cannot be held in int 44. Cleaning the temp fields are fetching. Oh, interesting. What do we have here? Let's see. Let's try something here. Let's try this again. Okay. Let's do this. You know what? Let's go with a portal 1. So let's make sure that we are. Let's go to here. Where's the console? Yeah, it's a terminal. Let's do this. Sorry. Open this up again. Let's look at the outputs. Debug console. Okay, yeah, life of a programmer. So let's clear this. Let's do npm install. Just make sure that everything looks fine. Yep. So we are fine. That looks okay. So now let's do this. Let's go ahead and then deploy it either via you can decide to use the FTP or whatever. It's just a way to make sure that you are pretty much copying all the files from your local into it. So let's go back to our Azure portal here. So what I'll do is that I'll go under deployment center. All right. And here from deployment center, there we go. I can go ahead and so here you can decide to do either a local gate, external, but right now we just want to get it, we just want to get this look from our local machine into so yeah, you can, if you have your source code in GitHub, if you have it in Bitbucket, now local gate is like on your desktop, or you can simply do an external get, which is using an external resource, right? So let's see, or you can use FTP. Guys, let me see if I have my FTP. I don't have my FileZilla. Nope, I don't have my FileZilla set up. All right, anyway, don't worry. So here I can go ahead and copy the FTP endpoint, the FTP username, FTP password, right? And then go and set up an FTP to copy the file. So right now what you want to do, we are not doing any CI/CD, but what you're doing is you want to copy the files which you have on your local to it. So let's go here and let's see if I can bring up, let's go FileZilla. All right, I'm just going to quickly download FileZilla. Don't worry, I want to show how to do this. So basic, let's go to FileZilla. Yeah, just use FileZilla client. We don't really want anything crazy, so we'll download this. Now another way to also use so let's see, FileZilla, Amazon backdrop. Yeah, this has all these crazy things. No, today we're keeping it very simple, so let's just do a very basic one. We just want to deploy stuff, so put it in my downloads, save this, we can close this, and let's wait. Okay, so that's done. Let's go ahead and open it, and I'll go ahead to install it. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the questions and ask. So let's do this. Agree. Yeah, anyone on this computer. Yeah, put a desktop icon so I can move it to this. Yep, install it. Let's go. So we can close this. And we can close this as well. All right. Let's start FileZilla. There we go. So with FileZilla started in the background, I think we can close this now. Okay, so let's make FileZilla big. Bring this here. All right, so what I'm going to do is that, remember, what we did was from here, right? Our FTP credentials, we're going to copy the FTP credentials, right? So this is the FTP endpoint. I'll copy it, go to FileZilla, and I'm going to add a new, let's manage a new site, and I'll call this call it new site, and then we'll call it Demystify Demo. If you've not used FileZilla before, this is not a session to show you FileZilla, but so we have that. So in the general protocol, we're using the FTP. The host, there you go. We'll put, and this is coming from our, it's coming from our FTP credentials. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and copy the FTP user. We'll copy this. We'll come to FileZilla. So yeah, we're using explicit FTP. Let's just do this. Require explicit FTP over TLS. Require, explicit. Yes, let's do explicit. Normal. That's the username. We'll paste it there, and then we'll go back to our, and I will copy the password. So just copy this. I won't reveal it. Copy the password here, and then we can connect, right? Yeah, save the password, that's fine. So we're connecting. Yes. This looks good. I click on OK. So all this is going to do is going to start connection into, so as you can see here, we are connected. So at the top here, you can see that we are connected to Azure. So this is site www, and I'll show you this in Azure right now. And as you can see, there is the hosting start. So this is the file that you are seeing in Azure right now. So if we go to our, where is that? If you go to this site, No, sorry, this is the local this is the local one. Sorry guys. Yeah, if you go here, this you are seeing, this is that HTML that is there, right? This is it. This is the starting, that's the file you see there. So with this, all we're going to do is that we're going to copy everything into our folder. So let's go ahead. So remember our code, I put it here in D dev Demystify Tech app service demo web app. So you see, I'm going to copy everything here with the exception of VS Code. Copy this and drag it here. And let's go. Override. So just copy all these things. Now, as you can see, this is a very manual process. Okay, this is a very manual process. Very, very manual. So let's go ahead and do this. There you go. So once everything is done, I think everything is done. We have the bean, node modules. No, node modules is not done. I see the app, I see the package. Okay, so we're still waiting for a few of it to be done. So once this is done, right, we will see the welcome to Express that we saw on our local machine. We should see that in Azure. But as you can see, this is all manual ways of doing it. So subsequently, in next episode, I'll now show you how to take this code and now make it a CI/CD pipeline that when we change the code automatically deploys into Azure, right? But let's wait for this to be done and then we can see it, and we'll try to do some small change, right? We can do some small change to the code and then we have to redeploy it again and then we'll see it. So let's just wait for it to be done. I can see that there are still some files waiting to be deployed. So let's go here just to give ourselves some time. Yeah, and allow it to. So it's going. So I see the main file, I see the node modules, I see the app.js, I see package log.js, I see package. So we are waiting for the views, route, public to all, and these are the ones that contain all the assets and things that we need. Now, again, this is a very manual process, which is time consuming and tedious. Let's go. Okay, so let's go. And it might be a bit slow because I'm still streaming with this, the same internet, the same thing. So let's give ourselves, just a little time. And yeah, sorry, we've gone over the 1 hour mark, but I want to see this. I want you to see this in Azure, and then in the next episode, we will now add CI/CD to it and then see how we can set CI/CD into it. Then maybe we can move into another app service, or I can talk about something else. There's something of interest though that I want to probably start a series on, which is the new Azure AI Studio. So if you think you want to see me do stuff on the AI Studio, just comment, share, just bring it up. Let's have a conversation about that. All right, so we're going. We are going, we are waiting, we are going. Well, whilst we're doing that, like I mentioned, whilst we're waiting for that to happen, tomorrow, if you are in Accra, you can join us for the .NET Conf 2023 Accra event, where we're going to be talking about, we have a lot of sessions, we have surprises. We have some surprise guests. So if you want to know, join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Join us at the Kofi Annan, the Ghana India ICT Center of Excellence. That's where we're having our .NET Conf. So come join us, come meet all, interesting people and all this, have fun. So, yep. We're waiting. It says we have about 604. Well, it's okay now. Okay, 589 kilobits. Kilobits. Okay, so queued files. Oh, okay, interesting. There are 66 files more, 63, 62, 61. We're going, coming down. Hurry up, guys, so we can go. Yeah, so guys, if you have any questions at this point whilst we're waiting for our deployment to happen, you can do it. Actually, whilst that is happening, let me take you through some parts of the application. So on the left side here of your portal, you can see configuration. This is very important. Let me talk about this part. So here under configuration, this is where you can go and set configurations for your applications. So things like environmental variable, database connection strings, you can set them here. You realize that when we were setting up the environment, we chose to use application insight. So here, for instance, if I have, if I'm building, let's say, an API, and I have things like environmental variables that tell me the app name or setting information, connecting to another API, stuff like that, this is where you add them. You click on add application service, settings, the name. So let's say here, if I want to say app name, right? So let's say I call it app underscore name, and then I say this is let's say the demo payment gateway. Why did I use his name? I don't know why, but so demo payment gateway, this is the so now I have an environmental variable called app name. I can now refer to this environmental variable name in code, and in turn, this should access whatever value I put here. Right now, I have demo payment gateway. I could change it to something else, and I can access it because it's an environmental variable on the server. Let's see. Awesome. I think, okay, so now all the files are done. So let's go back to here, which is our, as you can see, Demystify numbers or Azure.net. Moment of true, refresh it, and if everything went well, we should be seeing our, oh yeah, let me go ahead and delete that. Sorry guys, so we don't need this again. I can delete that. There you go. Yeah, so let's see if everything goes well. Let's do this. Yeah, okay, let me close this and let's go back to the overview. Okay. Yeah, this was the last deployment. So this last deployment was what we tried with Visual Studio and it failed, but we've now copied the files there, so we should be looking. Hold on, something is not right. Let's restart this. Yes. Refresh. And let me be sure that, okay, so let's go back. Let's check this out. So let's go to advanced tools. Yeah, this is why I like to do my show this live, so you can see that errors occur, and when they occur, how do we fix them? So let's go ahead and do this. So let's go to site www.root. I want to be sure that, okay, so here I see the bin, I see the node, I see the 2. Okay, now let's see. Let's go ahead. So as you can see, all the files are in the right place, but then someone will say, why is it not working? Well, let's go check the lock screen. Now, this might not work. This is not working because we are missing something. So look at this. There is the export port, right? We don't have this here, as in we don't have the port variable set. That's one reason why we're seeing this. So what it means is that we need to go ahead and set the port, all right, because it's trying to find an environmental variable called port, and this one is saying to serve it at 8080. All right, so let's go back into here. That's why I mentioned that you go to configurations, and then we go here, and oh, I didn't save the other one. So we go here, add application service settings. Sorry, I'll call this port, and we'll say 8080 for now. I'll do this, and then I'm going to add another one called app underscore name, and then we'll say Demystify Tech demo. That's the app name, right? Okay, what I failed to do was to click the save button up here. That's what I failed to do in the first one. That's why it didn't register, right? So let's go ahead and click the save, continue. So this would add the port in here. So I've shown you two things really quickly. So the app was not running. Why wasn't it running? We quickly went down here to log streams, right? Go all the way down to log streams. And then it will tell us, hey, what's happening? Okay, I tried to run an application. I saw this and, this didn't work and stuff like that. So as you can see, so this was the error. It said that, hey, I had an issue. I couldn't find this. So, hey, let's start that. All right, so now we've added the port, set it to 8080. I'm going back here. Overview, let's restart. I like to restart this. Yeah, that's successful. And hopefully, if everything goes well, we should, ladies and gentlemen, if everything goes well, we should see Express, welcome to Express, right? So as you can see, we've used the manual approach to create a simple node front-end application, used FTP to put it into Azure. This is not really effective. And I can imagine now, if I want to do a change, okay, let me show you something before we call it a day. If I want to make a change, right, and I go to, let's come to the local, right, and I go to views and then index here. All right, check this out. If I go here and now there is the there is a requirement for me. Let me close this for now. And now there's a requirement for me to say, hey, we don't want to say welcome title, right? Or we don't want to say welcome to. We will probably want to say welcome to Azure, right? Welcome to, let's say, Azure, and the app is called, right? If we want to do this, with this change that I have done, I have to go back and redeploy the index, redeploy this file because I have changed it, right? And the only way this happens is, it means I have to, so views index. So I have to come back, come to FTP, say, hey, open my view. This is the index, open my view, and then copy index here to index here and wait for it to, yeah, I'll say always overwrite. So what do I want to overwrite? So it would override it. Imagine this is like 10, 15 files, right? It means I would have to do this thing all over again, right? So and I have to change this, then come back, refresh. Now I see it, welcome to Azure, and the app name is called Express, right? So anytime I make a change, I have to go back to FTP, copy, paste, copy. That's what I'm saying. The next episode, we're going to see how to use CI/CD to change this. And then I'll also create an API, and then we'll see how to use the pipeline to create it. The last thing I want to show you before we call it a day is, you remember that in the configuration, we went ahead to add an environmental variable called app name, and we set it to Demystify Tech demo. So if I want to read this value from the system, I'll go ahead. I think we have the app name here. Where is that? So here we have there's supposed to be an environmental option here. Let's go. Just a sec. Let's look at this. Let's be sure that users. So let's go to the users. Let's go to the route. This is the users. Let's go to the index route. We have the index route here. And just a sec. Let's see. There we go. Yep. And then, so just be sure that we have all this sorted out. So let's go to our view. Where's the view? There you are. Index. We have the title. There you go. And there you go. Hold on just a sec. I think I'm missing something here. Let's do this. Edit. Finding files. There we go. There we go. So here. So in here, I'm rendering the title. I'm passing. So what's happening is that I'm using EJS to pass title, right, as the how do you call it, as a value for the UI to pick. And this is in index.js. So this was in route index.js. So let's go here. Let's close this. There you go. So right here. So what I can do now is I'm going to, let's do this. I'm going to put a comma here and then do app name, right? And this will be process dot, there you go, process.m dot, or we'll just make this express. Now what I'm doing here is simple. I'm saying that, hey, I'm adding another property called app name. All right, and this is supposed to look for an environmental variable called app name. If it finds it, put whatever that is there. If it doesn't find it, replace it with express. Let's call it Demystify Express. All right, so if it doesn't find that app name environmental variable, is going to replace it with Demystify Express. So now let's go into our application. Make sure I'm saving. Let's go into our views and then index. Instead of using title, welcome, you see, instead of welcome and app name score here, I'm going to use app name. So we save this. So now I have to now update route and views, right? Don't forget that. So I come here again into my FTP. So here, route, right? So, well, sorry, views. Let me refresh this. So let me copy from views. Yes, overwrite. Once this is done, I go to route. I go to the, and then make sure I open route here as well. And then I copy the index to route, overwrite. Yeah, I wanted to see how the manual process is painful. So with this done, we can now go back to our application, knowing that, you see what we did here. We are calling this one, we are calling the app name Demystify Tech Demo. All right, so let's see if it gives us that. So I come here, now all I got to do is refresh. Oh, welcome to, okay, so it's so it's broken up because I probably didn't pass the render in properly. So it says what? Let's see, app name is not defined. So yeah, let's go ahead and define it quickly. Let's fix this. Isn't this interesting? So let's go here. Each one is title. I have the app name. There we go. So app name is here. I go to the index. Let's see this. Let's be sure that actually, let's test this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do console.log, yes, log process.m.app name. For now, let's save this. Title. Oh, yeah, I know why. This is it. Sorry, guys. Let's save this, and then for the sake of just the test, let me test it locally here. So we'll do npm run start, and this is 300. So what I'm doing is I want us to just test it. So if there's any issue, okay, so check this out. So when we do this locally, when we run it locally, we see that welcome to Azure, and the app is called Demystify Express. All right, Demystify Express. So this was what we put in code, as you can see here, right? So it's not in. And if you look at the output, I think we are logging it, right? I said you should console log it if it finds it. So let's see, terminal. Let's hit this again. All right, it says, you see, so it says that it's undefined. So here on the system, it is undefined, right? So I think this is fine now. I'm going to save this and route.index. I'm going to move this again. All right, so let's do this. I think we don't need, I don't think I need to move it. It's just that welcome to, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to restart. I'm going to restart it for it to rebuild. So that it can, because I've changed the code. So let's go here. Let's fix this real quick. So I'm going to go here and go to overview, and then we will restart. Yes. All right. This looks fine. Let's go to our log stream. Whoa. Wow, 22 minutes. Gosh. Yeah. So you see how the coding live is. You can be coding and things just. All right. Let's try this again, man. If it doesn't work, just call it. Just call it and just fix it. There you go. 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 You see that? So now it says Demystify Tech demo, which is, go back here to configuration. And as you can see, that app name we put here in our server is the Demystify Tech demo, right? So that is how you can add app settings or environmental variables and call them in your application in this front end. So this is all time will permit me. Sorry, we went over about 22 minutes. Sorry, that's how when you're having fun, time just, you know, go by like that. Well, if you like this, I'd like to, you know, humbly request that, you know, you show some love to the channel. Just hit the notification button, that one, just subscribe. The QR code you're seeing there is my what's my YouTube channel. You can scan that, subscribe to the channel, invite your friends, subscribe. If you have any questions at all about technology, just drop it in there, connect with me and drop it, and I'll be, you know, I'll do well to answer that for you. If this sounds like something you want to do with me every Friday, join me, invite your friends and join, rate the show. Let's learn together, let's have some fun. I do this also on Tuesdays for IoT stuff, and on Sunday I do this for the Microsoft Power Platform. Until I come your way again next week, I always say that let's make the world a better place through technology. And I hope to see you tomorrow if you're in Accra, Ghana, for the .NETConf 2023. With that said, I have signed out. Let's enjoy the weekend. Stay safe, people.